After seeing that intro, I have a question for you. Did you notice that the version of Dusk that played in that wasn't the original version? You may have noticed little things about it, or probably just judged it based off of the title of this video, but that's besides the point. Our goal here today is to find out if Dusk HD, the remaster? I don't know what it could be classified as. Yeah, but the goal is to find out if it really is that good of a remaster. And to do this, we should probably go over a bit of background on both Dusk and Dusk HD. So firstly, I'd like to briefly talk about what Dusk actually is. Dusk was released in 2018 by the studio New Blood Games. It was developed by David Zemansky, and it had music composed by Andrew Hulshult, who you may know from doing the Quake Champions OST or the Doom Eternal Ancient Gods OST. When Dusk came out, it was a really good critical success, and it is pretty beloved by its fanbase, me included. However, for a long time after its release, it didn't really see much attention, in terms of updates and stuff. I mean, it has been about 6 years since it's released after all, so it's about time that we get a remastered version. With the release of Dusk HD in late December, that wish was fulfilled for me, and many others who enjoy the game. But of course, this is not actually what you want to hear about. You want to hear about whether it's good or not. So, let's talk about that. So, we're going to first go over the enemies redesigns, because Dusk has a great cast of enemies for you as the player to mow through. In specific, the Possessed Scarecrow, the Mage, the Leatherneck, and the Fork Maiden all look really good. The enemies are a real highlight of Dusk HD for me, and it was one of the parts I was most excited to see, and trust me, they were not a disappointment. And what makes it even better is that it's not just the models that have been changed, but the animations too. For example, the Fork Maidens now have this menacing walk that really fits with the new design, and it is much better to their older, stiffer animation that they had in the original version of Dusk. Same with the Scarecrows. The new enemies really give this version of Dusk a lot of life. But anyway, what's another really important part of an FPS game like Dusk? The weapons. And I think talking about the weapons is one of the main things that will help us decide whether Dusk HD is really that good. In all honesty, the weapons of Dusk HD are a really mixed bag. I think some of them really do look amazing, but others look... I think the best way to put it is others look kind of odd and cheap almost. Like, I know that Dusk isn't necessarily a very high-tech looking game, however, it feels like everything in the game was specifically designed to work the way it does. I'll go over what I like in terms of the weapons first, as I think that's only fair. I think the Super Shotgun, Riveter, Mortar, and Crossbow all look really good. The Super Shotgun specifically is one of my favourite designs in Dusk HD, and they all really do look like enhanced, better versions of what they were supposed to be in the original version of Dusk. And I think they're all very welcome additions, at least for me. However, one of the main reasons for these looking good is because the model isn't just floating in the air. I know in Dusk the weapons do float in the air quite a lot in the original, but it didn't look odd in the original version of Dusk just because you had the kind of understanding that things were supposed to look very low budget. And whilst they still do in Dusk HD, it looks weirder. However, the biggest travesty in Dusk HD is the machine gun. The machine gun just looks like an LMG from any other FPS game. All the other weapons in Dusk have very unique designs. You can tell what they're supposed to be, but they look like they're from Dusk, whereas the machine gun doesn't. And honestly, I feel like it looks kind of tacky. And the first thought I had when I picked it up for the first time in Dusk HD was, wow, this looks cheap. But to fully answer the question of whether Dusk HD is good or not, we should probably go over how everything is when it's all combined together, and not just separate aspects of the same game. So, overall, most of the stuff in Dusk HD looks really good in my opinion. and on their own they all look phenomenal. However, I do have an issue with how a lot of the stuff looks when it's used together, and in contrast to the game's actual world, I feel like a lot of stuff just doesn't look like it should be there, or look the way it does. It feels like having the HD weapons and all that, alongside the much less detailed backgrounds, really doesn't fit well. It's like when you see people putting HD models of Mario into Mario 64, it doesn't look right, and it looks off. Don't get me wrong, I understand that this probably took a very long time and a lot of hard work to create, and I'm very appreciative for the work that David Szymanski has put into this. One day I do hope to see a full remastered version of Dusk that gets released on the Steam store, because I feel like that would be a very good option, compared to Dusk HD, which I kinda don't want to use because a lot of stuff just looks so weird. But Dusk in general takes a lot of its personality and the way it looks from a game called Blood. And now if you'd like to find more out about Blood, then you can watch a video on that appearing right here.